Greetings my movie geeks! As usual, I'm late to the party on this. A 3-film event that began on the 2nd of July on Netflix. A horror film that has references to The Shining, Jaws, Night of the Living Dead and Scream. I'm talking about Fear Street Part 1, 1994. Good year. Make sure you like, share, subscribe and ring that bell to be notified every Wednesday and Friday. I might change the Wednesday to Tuesday, so we'll see how it goes. Directed by Janiak, Fear Street is based on the RL Stine series and goes down the Stranger Things route of nostalgia, centred this time around the 90s. This was my decade of growing up, and the music, the clothing, all seems to fit into what I remember. This is part 1 of 3, and despite it being a very strong film on its own, it has superbly set up the prequel/sequel that will continue and begin the story we will see. If you're watching this, you'll realise that part 2 is up on Netflix now, so look out for my part 2 review coming soon, because like I said, I'm late to the party. The opening of the film is a complete homage to the opening of Scream. The same beats appear on screen in almost exactly the same way. Yes, the settings are different, and where one was a self-referential horror film that firmly planted its tongue in its cheek, Fear Street is more than that, attempting to plant itself into the 90s. What better way to do it than to reference one of the biggest horror franchises of the 90s? It works well, and as the opening sets up the story, or at least the horror element of the story, you are hooked. But it goes further with the title sequence, showing us the history through newspaper articles, setting up all the horror that has happened through the different time periods at Shadyside. Shadyside is a town that a rich bloody history that the townsfolk seem to repress, similar to how Derry, the townspeople, repressed the deaths in Stephen King's It. There is a neighbouring town called Sunnyvale, which is the polar opposite of Shadyside, where the rich folk live, and they know they are. But despite the brilliant nostalgic opening of the film, the actual story takes a bit to begin. So basically, the crux of Fear Street Part 1 is that a group of teens inadvertently disturb the burial of a witch who has been able to create a series of serial killers over the centuries. The rest of the film is centred on them trying to stop the undead killers killing them. I won't go into too many spoilers, but part 1 builds on the backstory that successfully ties it into the present day 90s. The set pieces are great, and one in a hospital when the finale set in a grocery store. I'll admit, I was lulled into a false sense of security, believing that the film's main cast had their plot armour firmly in place, so it comes as a bit of a shock when the people get sliced and diced. This suddenly happens, and I think because they took time to get to the gore and the death, they do make the audience feel that the threat isn't as serious as it actually is. The slasher tropes are well on form here, not really changing much, but being displayed on screen with the skill from Janiak. The addition of the character, Josh, who is the brains behind everything Shadyside, discussing the murders on an early internet message board and knowing exactly what they need to do to defeat the bad guys. The story is quick and clever, and a strong balance between the scenes where they are running for their lives to the slower moments where they're trying to find themselves and trying to understand what their lives mean to them. The storyline between exes Dina and Sam is perfectly written and given enough time to expand and feel believable. So I thought the second film would be coming in a few months or something like that, but they're 7 days apart between releases, and as Netflix perfected the dropping of a series all at once, having a 3-movie release with 7-day gaps between is extremely ballsy. Looking at part 1, I am looking forward to part 2 dropping. Fear Street Part 2, 1978. Having a series that keeps going back in time is excellent, and I cannot wait for it to drop. Fear Street Part 1, 1994 is a good movie in my opinion, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Have you seen Fear Street Part 1, 1994? If so, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter at Movie Ultimate. And remember to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified every time I release a video. Thanks for watching.
How do we not die? I'm looking at you, witch nerd.
You can't stop it.
Ugh. Thanks for watching.